Are you ready, recasters?
Pie guy.
I can't hear you.
Pie guy.
Oh! Well, there's nothing scarier than that intro to people's ears. So I think that's appropriate. Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here, and welcome back to the recast. I am joined
By the scary green monster.
for the first time in a new streak,
Yes.
MonstersReview.
Hey guys, I'm back.
We'll address that in a moment, but I have another person to introduce, Chuggaaconroy.
I was about to say Chuggaaconroy to go with the theme, but it's not that good. Hello, thank you for having me.
Are you, Chuggaaconroy?
Chuggaaconroy.
I'm trying. There's a Halloween game coming out called Luigi's Mansion, and there's Gooigi in it. So, are you not a fan of Luigi's Mansion?
No, I said yes, because that's actually,
okay.
that is probably the holiday game I'm looking forward to the most.
Oh, yeah.
It looks so hecking good.
Tonight we're going to be talking about 2 SpongeBob episodes that are Halloween themed. Much like with what they did with the Christmas episode, how even though they did a special way back when, they did another one in stop motion a few years ago. Recently, well, like a year ago probably at this point, or maybe 2, they did a Halloween stop motion special, and it has quite a bit in common with Scaredy Pants, so that's exciting. I know you guys like it when we talk about SpongeBob.
Oh yeah.
Thankfully, no Flying Dutchman living on the moon, and then suddenly it's a Halloween special at the end.
But it might be, I don't know, might be a close contention here. I don't think this is a clear-cut case, in my opinion. So we'll see who likes what better. But before all of that, Monsters,
Yes.
are you all right?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. The reason I was out for the past recast was because I had an unexpected medical emergency, which left me very physically debilitated, and I basically couldn't perform normal human functions. So it got pretty bad, and I wasn't really able to move, so I couldn't like get up and watch things and record the recast. But I really appreciate that Pi took initiative and got Shadow on, and it ended up by being a really entertaining episode, although it was shorter than the usual. And thank you everybody for the well wishes. I appreciate it.
Aw, yeah. And last week I was sick too. So on top of you being in the state that you were in, even though you were a little better by that point, I went to Comic-Con and I came back with a sickness, and also they put in a new furnace at my place, which took a total of 4 days of
Installation.
yeah, turning on and off the fuse box that's connected to my setup, and just people coming in and out of my house. It's just a whole thing, you know? So it didn't line up to be the best week. I figured, you know, we'll delay the cast and Monsters will come back and it'll be triumphant and we'll all be happy.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. And then do we have any corrections for last week?
Yeah, you guys were wondering about additional Batman crossovers with Scooby-Doo, and there's actually 2 more. There's an episode of Batman the Brave and the Bold from its 2nd season called Batmite Presents Batman's Strangest Cases. And there's a segment in it that features Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Gang kind of spoofing on their appearance from the new Scooby-Doo movies.
Oh.
And it features Weird Al, your favorite person, besides
Oh.
Will Arnett.
True.
And then also there was a movie that got released last year. I believe it was direct-to-DVD, just called like Scooby-Doo and Batman the Brave and the Bold.
Okay. And that was what was confusing, because it kind of made it seem like that was the same thing, like it was the episode. But from my understanding, yeah, the episode was just a small segment of like a few other segments of weird Batman stories, whereas the movie's just a full movie.
Yeah.
A full TV movie or what have you.
I don't know about you, but I'd love to see a crossover of Scooby-Doo with, like, live-action, way too gritty Batman.
Oh, no.
Zoinks.
Well, just think about what they did with Scooby-Doo in the live-action movies when they weren't trying to make him horrifying, but he still comes off as incredibly uncanny and creepy. Now imagine they're trying to make him, like, grim dark with Batman. Anyway, please tell me about Don Knotts, Monsters.
Well, you guys were questioning the relevance of Don Knotts.
Oops. I hope he's not some beloved figure.
He is, I guess.
Oh.
Well, a lot of our viewers in the Discord pointed out that they knew who he was. He played a deputy on the Andy Griffith Show.
Oh.
Barney Fife! How do you not know this?
Which, I mean,
Not all of us are as old as you, Chuggaa.
Oh, excuse me. When I was your age, they still broadcast black and white shows.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I remember seeing reruns occasionally on TV Land, and the theme song for Andy Griffith is also super iconic. So I knew that, but I wasn't familiar.
I know
with
what the
show.
Andy Griffith Show is, and I know that he plays the dopey deputy guy, but I didn't know that was Don Knotts. I know who you're talking about.
It's probably his most beloved role of all, actually.
He won 5 Emmys for it.
Are you sure his role in the new Scooby-Doo movies wasn't his best work?
I mean, that was how I first heard of him, but
If the Batman and Robin episode is any indication.
His final film role was in the movie Air Buddies.
That's sad, Monsters. Why would you tell us that?
I'm sorry.
How you doing, Chuggaa?
Pretty good. I think we've all kind of been through the ringer this last week or so we're all in good company here.
You finished Chrono Trigger.
Yes.
That's good.
A few weeks ago now.
That's pretty big. Not every week that you finish like a huge project.
Yeah, the main game completely enjoyable, like 2 short parts that I don't care for, but otherwise it's funny, good storytelling, excellent music, fun gameplay that's really fast paced. Love everything about it except for the new crap they added in the DS version that I have never played a worse post game to like anything ever. It's just it's so bad. I would not blame anybody for just thinking it was an alright game if they played the DS version and played all the new content, not aware that it was new.
Well, let's just say if you were considering buying Chrono Trigger on the SNES, you should pull the trigger.
Hey.
It's about time too.
All right, Monsters. So, I mean, we heard a little bit about unfortunateness that was going on. Has there been anything good and happy happening in your life?
Primal. Andy Tartakovsky's Primal just aired its first season, but we'll talk about that at a later date. All I'll say is I love my boy Gendy. He's my dad.
Tortellini.
I got to see him
You got to see Gendy?
at Comic-Con.
Explain.
Whoa.
So I went to New York Comic-Con. I didn't tell anyone. It was kind of a last-minute thing. Leia invited me, and it was really cool. I ended up only going for 1 day, but I saw the Steven Universe panel, the Primal panel, and the Owl House panel. And just, I guess, I'll save Steven Universe because we'll talk about that in a minute. But Primal, the panel was really cool. So they actually did release the first episode like the night before, and so me and Leia watched it in the hotel room. And then the panel started off with him like just showing it, and so I was like, oh. But to be honest, watching Primal with a stereo system in a huge theater, the Hammerstein Theater in New York, which is it's a big, huge theater, with a crowd around you that are all super excited and being super respectful, it's just amazing. Like just the grunts and of the dinosaurs and stuff, and also like there's something special about being in a theater that makes me not want to like check my phone or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's it kind of forces your attention really. If you're a considerate human being, just yeah. But there was something really special. Even though I had watched it like mere hours before, there was something really special about watching that episode again, the first one, that just was like nice. And then for the rest of the 40 minutes of the panel, Gendy came out by himself. He did a panel by himself. No moderator, no one else. Him on the stage alone. And just answered questions. You know, and people asked. I wish I had got up to ask a question. I didn't really know what I would have asked.
I joked with him and I said, if you had the opportunity to ask a question, you should have said, when is Samurai Jack coming back for its finale?
I should have been like, my friend Monsters is in the hospital. Could you please pay him a visit?
Could you please draw his character, but in your style? And Adam is a character in the Primal as like a big dinosaur monster,
like a fish man.
Yeah,
or yeah. Yeah, he'll put you in the show, and then he'll have Spear just murder you brutally. If you don't know what Primal is, by the way, it's a very, very adult cartoon that's not silent but has no dialogue. And and it's 22 minutes. And Gendy talked about it. Like, he talked a little bit about how, I mean, it's such a risk. Like, especially in today's age where people have, I don't want to say people have shorter attention spans, but people are so into like checking their phones while they watch something, or like, you know, browsing Reddit or whatever when they're watching something, to make a show where you absolutely have to stare at the screen. You cannot look away because you miss the story. You will be completely lost if you do. He told us a story about how he was with one of like the executives or whatever, and he was screening the first episode, and the executive had a piece of pizza in front of him, intending to eat it while he watched. That pizza just sat there because he couldn't look away. So he talked about that. He talked about like Symbionic Titan. Someone asked a question about. I learned about the booty, the shake it, quake it, bake it, booty. I learned about the booty dance.
Yeah.
I had to be shown that afterwards. It's something.
Yeah.
Someone asked if that was the reason that show got canceled. It wasn't. You know, but someone asked about if I don't know, just watch the panel if you want to see the whole thing. But basically, there were some interesting questions, and Gendy just seemed like a really down-to-earth guy, and it genuinely seemed like Adult Swim let him say whatever he wanted. He cursed during it. He just had a very lax thing, whereas with the other panels I went to, there were definitely... There was a casualness with it, but there was also, like, people standing off to the side, like, you know, you can't say this or you can't say that, or, you know, cursing wouldn't have been allowed at, like, the Owl House panel, I don't think.
Publicists.
Yeah.
They're scary.
I mean, for good reason. Like, there's reasons why you don't necessarily want, like, actors or whoever just saying whatever they want to say at these panels. But no, like, Gendy, someone asked what kind of animation it was, and they were like, oh, is it CG or whatever? And he's like, no, it's 2D. It's a hand-drawn animation. Really effing good hand-drawn animation. Only he didn't say effing. So, but yeah, good. That was good stuff. And Owl House was cool as well. I got to see Alex Hirsch because he voices one of the characters. And that was cool. And the Owl House in general looks like it's going to be a really good show. Definitely looks like it's in like the Steven Universe vein. Someone asked, or just in the style of storytelling, not that it like steals anything or whatever, but just someone asked like, oh, is it going to be episodic? Is it going to be story arc? And basically she said, it's going to be relatively episodic, but every episode feeds into something, which most likely means it's going to be like Steven Universe. Like the first season, most of the episodes are kind of standalone-ish with certain hints of other things. And then probably as the Owl House goes on, it'll probably get a little more CLI. That'd be my guess. But that was cool. And then I guess we can just transition right into the news then. Let's start with Steven Universe Future.
Here we are in the future, and it's bright.
Oh, boy. So the Steven Universe panel was amazing. Like, I almost didn't go because Leia being Leia really wanted to be there super early, of course, you know, because that was why she went. Like, and I should also mention I met up with Wacky Deli. She has a YouTube channel. She's a really cool person, and said hi to the round table. Didn't really hang out with them that much, but basically the panel was really sick. It started out with performances of the music numbers from the musical, the like Here We Are in the Future thing. That was how they introduced each of the cast members when they came in to sing their part, is how they like came on stage.
Oh, that's cool.
Rebecca Sugar sang the part of Steven just because Zach was apparently, he's on some sort of like really cool global trip. But it was fitting that she sung. And so, yeah, they had a full band and everything. It was great. It was amazing. Spinell's songs were, woo! Seeing that performed live was something.
Is it pronounced Spinell?
Correct.
Okay. My whole life I've been saying Spinal.
You've known about this character your whole life?
You know what I mean.
This is Spinal Tap.
I mean, it is a real rock, I suppose.
Oh, that was good.
What?
Oh, sorry. Okay, no,
That wasn't a joke.
Sorry. Spinal Tap is a spoof rock band. I thought you were making a joke about the fact that, yeah.
Oh.
It's a double entree.
Anyway, like I was thinking, because I've seen them at panels before, you know, they got like a little ukulele out and they're like singing the songs, and I'm like, oh, that'll be cute. But no, like it was a whole production. It was amazing. It was super cool. I'm so glad I didn't miss it. And then they did Q&A, and there was like a lot of, if you want to hear me talk about that, go over to Leia's channel on Toon Ruins. We all talk about it pretty in depth. But basically it ended, Rebecca Sugar was like, okay, we got one more thing to show you guys, but we'll take one more question. And then the person asking the question asked a really long question about like inspiration for the diamonds. And she was like, I have all these things, but I can't, like, we don't have the time, but they're based upon like inaction and action and thought and mind and judgment. And anyway, so we were all like, we knew something was coming, right? Something's coming. What is it going to be? Well, as soon as the questions are done, Rebecca Sugar's like, I know you guys are all excited, but I do have to tell you, there is no season 6. She said that point blank. Like, which would have been, if that had not been a mislead, which, I mean, come on, it had to have been. Because if it weren't, it would have been like the most depressing way to end a panel ever. Like, by the way, our show is canceled. Bye.
Bye. Have a great Comic-Con.
Yeah. Please buy the DVDs. So she said that, and then there was like a long pregnant pause, right? Because it was like, there was about to be madness. But this was at the biggest room in the convention center, by the way. This was the biggest panel at the whole thing. Or at least tied with like some of the other biggest ones. And so there was a pause, and then she was like, okay, so we're doing an epilogue future mini-series called Steven Universe Future. And everyone was like, huh? Because it's still so confusing, because it's not like she was like, it's a mini-series. And I think the reason why she said that is because we have a pretty good idea of what a Cartoon Network mini-series is. Usually it's about like 6 to 8 episodes. Whereas I'm pretty sure Steven Universe Future is going to be a little longer than that.
The way I heard it described was a limited series.
Yeah, she said that too. Yeah, which is... what does that mean?
Yeah.
I mean, all we know really is that it's
all
not going to be...
series are limited for the most part.
Right. Well, not The Simpsons or SpongeBob. You know, so we know it's not going to be like, here's 5 seasons of Steven Universe Future. It's going to be like one chunk of who knows. But basically, she said that, and then she showed us the intro, which is like got like 3 million views on YouTube right now.
It's so good.
It's amazing. And there's so many things like hidden in it. Like the roundtable had a pretty good breakdown about how there's like Ruby bodyguards really small in the frame when they're driving the van past, and like it's just it's a whole thing. Yeah, the crowd went just absolutely bonkers at that point, as you can imagine. Because at first it's like this like weird, confusing news. Instead of being like, oh, there's season 6, here's like, here's epilogue, limited series, miniseries, this, that. And then it's just like, oh, and here's like just an insane trailer with every character on the show singing about how we're in the future, and it's bright, and Paradude has a line at the end, and Lars is in the intro, and he's looking slick at the start, and it's a... Whew.
That brought the emotions pretty high.
Yeah. Oh, well, Drift Away also had emotions pretty high, gotta say. But yeah, so what does this mean? Like to break it down like a little bit, and I would guess that the decision to rebrand it as Steven Universe Future is probably half and half creative and practical, would be my guess. Just thinking in the sense that if you're wondering why they would do this instead of just saying it's season 6, and they're adamant that it's not season 6, even though certain news outlets are promoting it as such, and I understand the confusion. It's not, but you know, news outlets should maybe correct that if they're news outlets. But yeah, reasons behind it could be if it's a new series, they can renegotiate contracts. They can also, like, Steven Universe got a lot of its funding pulled towards the end thanks to the gay wedding. Rebecca Sugar actually answered this. She talked about this recently at a Barnes & Noble signing that she did right after Comic-Con. How essentially Cartoon Network gave her the option, like, look, you can do this, and like Cartoon Network USA will still give you funding, but you're going to lose funding internationally, and that's going to mean less voice actors per episode, less episodes overall, blah 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 blah. And she chose to go through with it.
I think it still came out great with the limitations given to her.
Well, my insane theory is that if it's Steven Universe Future, they could sell that show as a show that doesn't have any gay weddings in it.
Wow.
That's a semi-joking thing. But, I mean, it's true. If they brand it as a new series, they can renegotiate all sorts of things with ad money and all sorts of stuff. They also, if it's a limited series, they know when it's ending, so they don't have to worry about Cartoon Network canceling it before they can finish telling the story.
Yeah, regular show got rebranded for its final season. Regular show in space.
And of course, on the creative side, like, I think, and again, from what she said, it did sound like they wanted to do more. There wanted to be more of story, like, before Change Your Mind, before the show ended. But they wanted to make sure they ended the show just in case. So it sounds like they have a chance to kind of go back and maybe tell some stories in the past, ironically, or at least adding on to things in the past, tying up loose ends, and doing stuff like that. And the practical, like the story reason, I know it might not make a difference to some people, but saying this is an epilogue does matter, because it does make Change Your Mind the end of the series. Or I guess Steven Universe the movie, if you would depending on how you want to see that. This is a bonus thing. This is an epilogue does not have to end in this amazing grand way. An epilogue literally just has to
Tie up some loose ends.
Right. Say what happens in the future. Maybe, like if you look at the Harry Potter epilogue, it's just like a page of just like, here's a happy little vignette that happened in the future.
Well, it makes sense too, because I remember when Change Your Mind aired, everyone was freaking out and they were just like, wait, so is the series over? Like, where do you go from here?
Yeah, that was my reaction. I was just like, did the show just end? I think it did, because the only like loose end at all I can think of was them saying that Emerald would be returning in a more major role, and that still hadn't happened yet, and that's such a minor thing.
But yeah, no, this seems like an excellent way to continue the series, and I mean the animation on the intro is stellar, and just nothing but high hopes and expectations and fingers crossed for it.
It'll be interesting because I think the show's going to kind of have more of an ensemble cast now due to just how many characters there are.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's another thing that, fingers crossed, hopefully maybe they'll break Steven's perspective, since they have a million characters, and since this is a new thing, right? This could have 22-minute episodes for all we know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this could be, who knows? Who knows how close or distant this is from regular Steven Universe? It's completely up in the air right now, and that's really exciting, to be honest.
Steven Universe, Shippuden.
Well, that's what Ian said. All right, well, a show that is getting a season 6, BoJack Horseman.
Do you need a hug?
No, I'm okay.
Am I a good person? Please tell me I'm a good person.
Was I a good show?
Please tell me I was a good show. Netflix, please.
Just Netflix. Yeah. Okay, so BoJack is ending with season 6. There was misinformation being spread around. Not going to throw out any names. The thing is that if you've been following the show, and I guess I won't spoil it, but like certain things happened at the very end of season 5 that kind of made it seem like season 6 maybe should be the last. BoJack is a show about this character kind of zigzagging, doing good things and bad things, and there is a limited shelf life on how long you can do that before the character becomes insufferable. There is. I don't think they've hit it, but you cannot have a Simpsons-level show where it's just like BoJack Horseman every season, like, am I a good person? It's like, dude, you've done like 50 unthinkable things in the past 10 years. You can't, like, this...
After a while, it just becomes like the hero never learns syndrome.
Right. And BoJack, in my opinion, is art. It's true art in the sense that, and true art needs an ending. In my humble opinion, that's, so BoJack was never designed to be a show like The Simpsons, and I would hate for it to become it. Like, now that doesn't mean that like there could have been a few more seasons, I think, but I would rather it end than risk it going into territory of just being this sacred cow like The Simpsons, where they can't slaughter it ever. And so I'm okay with it ending. Obviously, I'm gonna be sad. Obviously, I will just kind of like want a little more always. But I think it is the right decision, and it did seem like, at least in some respect, this is what the writing staff wanted. It was kind of confusing the way they explained it, but it kind of seemed like this was their original contract, went up to season 6, and Netflix decided not to renew, which feels a little different than them canceling, because at least they know, you know what I mean? They can plan it a little better. Additionally, it's gonna be like an extra long season, so we'll have 16 episodes total, so that's quite a bit longer. I would imagine that they probably made it like your typical 12 episode arc for the season, and then probably maybe that last 4 to tie everything together. That would be how I would structure it. But it's a very good show, and yeah, like I said, I'd rather it end on a good note. And if they could stick the landing, I mean, it's gonna be my favorite show of all time, and it's gonna be like, God, aside from maybe the Avatar: The Last Airbender, the only show that I could say is just completely just amazing through and through. Some bad episodes, sure, episodes I don't like or whatever, but there's not a bad season of BoJack Horseman, unless season 6 is terrible, in my opinion.
I feel like Ed, Edd n Eddy comes close to being just an absolute good and having an ending to its story.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair choice. But a lot of times it doesn't go that way,
Yeah, no, like, oftentimes when you pitch a show, you just want, like, hey, we could make 1 million episodes out of this concept, and usually there's no ending in mind because of that.
Well, it's not just that. It's also the fact that if the show is on top, it's very rare that a network will cancel it.
Right.
Because the thing is, I feel like if Netflix really needs BoJack to continue because of all the other things that they're losing thanks to the streaming stuff and other things that they've been
Yeah, people have been scapegoating Big Mouth.
Yeah, which like, look, I don't like Big Mouth either, but come on, it has if you care about BoJack, I think you should be okay with the show ending at season 6. I think it's the right thing for the show to do.
You have to put the horse down. You have to euthanize him.
Yeah, at some point you need some glue, you know? Yeah, and I've got like hopes and expectations and things I don't want them to do. I don't want them to it's so impossible because the show needs to have an ending, but I cannot say that I want them to like nail down like, here's BoJack Horseman, he was a good person or he was a bad person. That would be a fly in the face of the show. But at the same time, you can't have a non-ending. I think that would be frustrating as well. So,
hey, Pie.
Yeah.
Do you think BoJack Horseman is gonna have a downer ending?
Ooh, honestly, I don't think it will.
No.
I think BoJack's gonna die.
I wouldn't be surprised. That seems like it's in the vein of the show.
Yeah. To have BoJack maybe at episode 12 or whatever reach some sort of conclusion to him, and then something happens, maybe just tragically, maybe out of the blue, maybe whatever, and then the rest of the season is the other characters dealing with his loss and because that's what happens when people die, is you try to make sense of their life. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
BoJack spent his entire life trying to make sense of his life, and now it's over. I mean, they do foreshadow it in Downer Ending. BoJack can't tell the story of his life because it's got no ending. So how do we end it? Let's kill BoJack. That could be entire foreshadowing. No. Anyway, I'm sure I'll talk about the show in some capacity, either on the recast or non, when it starts airing. And yeah, but if you haven't, this is your last chance to get on the show's bandwagon if you still want to be there when there's new episodes. But if not, really, there's no bad time to get into BoJack. So
I just thought of the beating the dead horse joke, and I wanted to mention it.
Oh,
oh man. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't renew his show. I mean, we all knew his success was a dark horse.
Oh,
okay.
I'm happy, and I haven't even watched the show.
Listen, I got a lot of those in my stable, so don't push me. Chuggaa, you would love BoJack because it's nothing but animal puns and, well, you would love half of BoJack because the rest of it's like existential dread. I don't know how you feel about existential dread, but I know you like puns, so I know you'll love
me,
at least.
Depressing and sad and mopey.
Well, I remember in episode 34 of Chrono Trigger where you start discussing if you're a good person or not. So.
Oh, where I was like, I'm not good at insulting people. I don't know if that makes me a good person.
I'm not referencing anything specific. I'm making a joke based on BoJack, but never mind. We can move on. I'll tell you later. So we got news on SpongeBob.
yay.
Oh, super funny news. Super funny news that's amazing.
I love Nickelodeon.
Also infuriating news. Yeah, so remember how Nickelodeon like kind of stole a background a while ago?
Yeah,
From a fan?
in one of their Lego show promos.
Yeah. Which, okay, like, look, it can happen. It really there should have been someone that saw it. But, like, I understand how you could look at that at a glance and maybe be like, okay, this is official or whatever. I understand that, I guess. It still shouldn't have happened, but whatever. So, on our favorite show, The Substitute.
Yes.
The John Cena episode. Which, no, we haven't watched yet, but surely we'll get there at some point.
Right.
So, you know how they do this thing where they talk about, like, oh, our makeup artist worked on this, and this. They quickly show posters. And oddly enough, the first thing was for Bad Grandpa, which, if you're trying to show off your resume for, like, prosthetics, yeah, that's a good thing to reference. But not Kids, a movie. They had to blur out a part of the poster because the franchise this is a spinoff from contains a word that's not allowed on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, Jackbutt.
Yeah, Jackbox Party Pack. So there was that, and then they just quickly showed the SpongeBob movie, which, if you're wondering, that they did the Pirates, right? Like the live action stuff. If you're wondering how like a makeup person, and yeah, that's why. But they didn't use any ordinary SpongeBob movie poster. But describe what what they flashed upon the screen for like a second long. Chuggaa, why don't you?
Visual proof that Disney is taking over everything.
It's it's lots of wonderful additions to SpongeBob canon. By the way, before we go any further, I do have to shout out to Originals Boy 11 on Twitter for like bringing this to light. As far as I know, this was the person that discovered this, so huge props to you for finding this.
It's only on screen for like half a second too.
Yes, and we've got video proof. Like we know this is real. So to explain what this is, the internet's a weird place. We all know this. Yes. And there's lots of like strange parodies and things done by very young people. I did one once.
Really?
Yes, it's called Animal Crossing Abridged. Don't look it up, kids.
It's the Animal Crossing.
Oh, basically, there's this thing called Pooh's Adventures of the SpongeBob movie. Winnie the Pooh. And as far as I understand, I think it's just a YouTube video where it's just like a mashup of just clips where it's like everyone's seen those weird things where you come across it and it's like they try to mash clips together to make it look like characters are talking to each other.
Yeah, like almost their own show, but it's characters interacting from different shows.
Right, but it's not done in like a polished, nice, interesting way. It's done in like this was made by a 12-year-old because it was made by a 12-year-old. So I'm not trying to dunk on the many Pooh's Adventures of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. But apparently, during Pooh's Adventures, who, by the way, for being the title character, one of the title characters, does not have much focus on this poster.
No.
Basically, I guess they made a promo image for this thing, which includes R2-D2, C-3PO, Tigger, Eeyore, Winnie the Pooh, and Rabbit, Mewtwo, some blue lady that I don't recognize, Slimer from the Ghostbusters,
Rocky and Bullwinkle?
Oh, well, yeah, there's Rocky from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
There's also Bullwinkle.
Oh, okay. He's not with Rocky for some reason.
No.
Well, Flounder the fish, Slimer, and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters. Ariel from The Little Mermaid, cropped so it looks like she's not wearing anything. The Power Rangers.
It's morphin' time.
Some dude with an incredibly unfortunate nose that they do right, I want to say. I don't know. Azula from Avatar. Bowser Jr. The two evil Russians from Rocky and Bullwinkle. Some anime girl. Bowser. Boba Fett. Or Jango Fett, I'm not sure which. Darth Vader. Boba, okay. And I want to say that's a My Little Pony character in the upper right, left. Corrections is going to have fun with this one next week.
Oh, yeah.
I like to think that there was some editor who was being woefully underpaid and mistreated, so like this was his way of getting back at them.
Yeah.
Take this, John Cena, my favorite wrestler. Or non-favorite wrestler.
It almost had to have been intentional because there's no way you can't notice the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, R2-D2. Like, half these characters are just so blatant. It had to have been some sort of like weird message or something. Not message, not like subliminal, but just like some editor. You're right. Some editor got bored and did this. Just wanted to see if anyone noticed. But then again, you'll lose your job for this. So I don't know. It's probably an intern. You know what it is? It was probably an intern that was told to grab the image.
Yeah.
That just sent this along, and the editor probably didn't look closely at it.
I mean, the editor might not have even really have ever seen SpongeBob or been familiar with it.
Interns have it tough. They don't have a lot of, like, they have a bunch of things on their table, and,
right.
They're under a lot of pressure and scrutiny, so they probably just typed up the SpongeBob movie poster on Google Images real quick and found the first thing that they saw.
And there's been times where, mistakes have been made because I was editing and I just had the monitor small. Like, didn't think I needed to look too closely about X particular thing or whatever. And it is only on screen for a second. So I'm not sitting here arguing like this ruined that amazing episode of The Substitute, but it's just like, get it together, Nickelodeon. Like, act like you're professional. This really doesn't do anything to refute the claims that your reality shows like The Substitute are incredibly cheap.
Yeah, and I mean, this wouldn't be grounds. I mean, although it is, I guess,
misleading.
Although it is among a weak definition of transformative, I don't think this is really grounds for a lawsuit or any
but
sort
monsters fair use.
Yeah, I don't know if the wonderful graphic designer of this poster deserves compensation for it being on Nickelodeon. I'm not sure if this was hand painted, especially that Boba Fett.
It's, by the way, if we haven't mentioned it, I mean, it's these are all incredibly like poorly cropped in here. Like Darth Vader's lightsaber is being chopped off at the top, and like, yeah, definitely look it up on Twitter because it's, woo.
I mean, Slimer looks pretty in place. I don't know about you, but
Right. I mean, how about Azula though?
I mean, Azula could canonically be a SpongeBob character. Was she in like that baseball game that like had a crossover between all the Nickelodeon characters?
We don't need to talk about Nicktoons MLB. We're good. But you're right. I don't know if Azula's a playable character, but Aang definitely is.
Fanboy and Chum Chum are in that game.
There's Fearless Leader.
Yeah. So get it together, Nickelodeon. Maybe put some effort into what you do. I don't know.
Nickelodeon, stop it. Get some help.
They're taking this whole like 4 kids buy kids thing to a new level here. Oh boy. Okay, so in some more infuriating news on SpongeBob and our wonderful leader Brian Robbins. There was the whole thing with Camp Coral. I don't need to restate my opinions. We talked about it on the cast, and I talked about it in a video. Essentially, my whole thing was that Camp Coral seems to contradict something that Hillenburg has said about the show and something that has remained constant about the show, that there was no crossovers in the show. We all know the video games exist, but the show...
Well, what about this poster that's canon?
Stop stealing my Twitter jokes. But basically, like, it seemed incredibly sketchy that they would announce these projects like 3 or 4 months after Hillenburg passed. But we didn't have like an exact timeline on these things, and we didn't know. Theoretically, Hillenburg could have approved of X, Y, or Z thing. Well, and in most cases, we would have never known, right? Like, they're not gonna come out and tell us like, oh, yeah, we did this right when Hillenburg was on his deathbed. Like, we didn't get a chance to ask him. Whoops. Like, they weren't gonna say something like that. However, Brian Robbins gave an interview now a year on from him being the head of Nickelodeon. The website giving the interview had a few interesting questions. One on basically pointing out how there's a ton of reboots, and Brian Robbins is like, oh no, we got some original stuffs too. But basically the original stuff is like the substitute, which is technically not based on a property, but it's based on like obnoxious, oversaturated prank shows.
I mean, Viacom also did Punk'd.
Right, I wouldn't consider it a new franchise, nor would I consider America's Most Musical Family anything other than yet another musical reality show. Like, just because it's not strictly a reboot doesn't mean it's not a lame, pathetic rehash and not the kind of high-quality content people are looking for. But anyway, the other thing is that they asked how Camp Coral came about. And Brian Robbins says, and I'll quote him here, "Literally, my second or third day here, I was asked to go to a SpongeBob season 12 or 13 pickup meeting. I asked a lot of questions. What I realized is that we've made a lot of shows over many, many years, but the shows basically stayed the same. We had all these great characters in the world of SpongeBob, but we never individually explored their origin stories, or their histories, or put them in their own environments. So we decided to put a room together and really look at what the SpongeBob universe looks like. And out of that came the Camp Coral idea, and actually a couple of other ideas. Camp Coral is the first show. It will be a limited summer series. I wonder if it'll air against Steven Universe Future. He didn't say that. That's an aside by me.
I was about to say, for it to air alongside Steven Universe Future, it would have to come out in 5-episode chunks at once and like only release every year.
I just saw amazing animation tests and conceptual art that blew us away. It's basically about how Patrick and SpongeBob met in summer camp when they were kids. It's not SpongeBob babies, so to speak. But it is in CG, and they're younger and cuter. Sandy is really cute in it. She has braces. It's really fun, and it looks different, but still feels like SpongeBob. I couldn't be more excited about it.
But he can't take credit for the Casagrandes. He wants to make that clear.
Yeah, and the next question. Listen, the people who interviewed this website, what is this website?
TV Kids.
TV Kids. They did an amazing job, by the way. Like they weren't like scathing with these questions, but they're asking the questions that we want to know the answers to.
Oh, absolutely.
This wasn't a softball interview necessarily. Not a hardball one either, but this didn't seem like a calculated press thing. This felt like Brian Robbins was getting arrogant, to be completely honest.
I read this the day it was posted, and I couldn't believe that they actually like acknowledged these questions, or that someone, had the guts to ask these in an interview, because this is exactly like what I thought they would never do.
So let's start with the big thing, is that we finally put a pin on exactly when the idea came about, and it was about 2 months before Steven Hillenburg passed away. So what this means, I mean, I guess it's good news in the sense that it wasn't like Nick was holding this idea for like 5 years until he died, which would be an incredibly cynical thing. But it also paints a picture that Hillenburg was relatively sick with ALS, and although he mentions like there's a meeting and all this stuff, he doesn't mention Hillenburg. And that doesn't mean that Steven wasn't there necessarily. I don't want to assume entirely. And remember, if the idea was come up with 2 months before he passed, there was still plenty of time to pull the plug on it.
Yeah, that's just the idea.
There's also the fact they must have known that he was imminent at that point, because he knew that this was going to take his life, ALS, and his condition was announced over a year before it actually took him, so they must have known by this point.
And it's nasty towards the end. You lose some of the ability to speak correctly. Like, it's not, you're not in a place where you want to be like running an animated show, Not to be too morbid, but just, so really to me, it's confirmation that they really just didn't care about it, unless the only thing is if there were someone or some way that came out and said Hillenburg liked the idea.
Which, based on Paul Tibbitt's words, we're pretty certain that's not the case.
Right. So again, I don't want to be one of those like it has to be this way, but based upon all available as evidence, and based upon the fact that likely, no one from internal is going to come out and be like, yeah, we kind of went against his wishes and this was a cheap cash grab. You're right. Like, no one's going to say that. So we're never going to get complete confirmation. But it does seem like something where they could have easily pulled the plug on it, and they just didn't. They chose to go forward with announcing a ton of SpongeBob projects, and then they chose to fully announce Camp Coral.
Did the question ever cross their minds, like, so Brian Robbins says he realized that there was all this unexplored potential, but the thing is, like, don't you think there's a reason why it's unexplored?
The other thing I wanted to say before we dig into the individual lines is just that, like, this is your first move, Brian Robbins. This is really, you come in on your second or third day when they're like, all right, should we pick up SpongeBob for another season? And instead of just saying yes, instead of just being like, oh yeah, let's let the money keep flowing, you say, you know what? Let's make a bunch more shows. Why has no one ever done this? Let's do it. Let's milk this stinking show as dry as humanly possible. That's Executive of the Year award material right there. What, like doing the most predictable, dumb, just...
Well, I don't want to say he was under pressure, but according to earlier on in this interview article, the CEO of Viacom, Bob Bakish, basically told him when he was appointing him to the position of Nickelodeon president that, like, Nickelodeon needs to stay the dominant force in kids' TV. So maybe he felt like extra inclined to just come in here and do whatever he could.
I'm sure there's also a lot of pressure when the previous CEO was forcibly ousted from the company.
Like, it is a financial short-term move, obviously. Like, Camp Coral's gonna do well, Maybe critically everyone hates it, but viewership, it's gonna do well. It's gonna sell merchandise of younger SpongeBob.
Cute SpongeBob.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go into this here. So, Chuggaa, why have they never explored the origins of, let's say, Mr. Krabs or Plankton?
It's really funny you're saying this, though, because I seem to recall an episode called Pull Up a Barrel where they did this just fine.
I was going with Friend or Foe. Like, I mean, they've done this. They have. Yeah, the reason why they haven't pinpointed out, like, here's a timeline of Mr. Krabs' life is because that limits the story possibilities. The second you say he was here at this specific time, you just completely nail yourself down to either contradict it or just stick to it forever. So it's just, this statement is so doubly dumb because it's we have gotten glimpses in Friend or Foe.
Remember that episode where they individually explore their origin stories?
What do you mean? Oh, like Truth or Square?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's Truth or Square.
Sponge
we
fetus.
see SpongeBob as a fetus. Yeah. Like, so, I mean, to me, that tells me that this dude doesn't watch the show.
Even without a series explaining the backstories of each character, it's confusing enough as it is that Mr. Krabs was in the Navy, but also a pirate, yet also a restaurateur, and his restaurant business came from the ship that he had when he was a pirate. And there's so many contradicting details to these characters already because SpongeBob is not about continuity or about telling a story. It's you have constants with the characters. Like, absolutely, SpongeBob is a guy who's carefree and loves life and is very positive and likes jellyfishing, and his best friend's Patrick. But beyond just those very basic details, SpongeBob has always been that if you can write the funniest episode ever, but it contradicts these other 5 episodes that already exist, then you just don't care about those other 5 episodes that already exist and just write it anyway. It's been like that since the first season. It's always had bad continuity. It's never had a consistent story. Really, the first episode and the movie are just bookends to whatever happened in the middle.
Well said. And I mean, things like Patrick and SpongeBob meeting when they were babies as a gag in Idiot Box or whatever episode that was from. Yeah, I mean, it works, again, because we're not tied down to it. It's just a brief flash. It's not... But the second that you make an entire series explaining how the characters met, that becomes the canon.
Yeah.
Like, it just does, unfortunately, right? No matter what. No matter... We could say it's non-canon. We could say, oh, it doesn't matter. But, like, if you make a whole show based around it, then that's just what the perception's going to be.
It's waving a flag towards itself saying, hey, guys, this is the real story of what happened because it's the whole purpose for it to exist.
Also, putting characters in their own environments. So much of SpongeBob's comedy is based on the characters of the show interacting and reacting to each other. Like, how many episodes are Squidward reacting to SpongeBob doing something? Yeah. So it's like, where is the interest in isolating a character and having them do their own thing?
Like, there is none.
Oftentimes, even in the main show, even in early episodes, that didn't work well.
What's the hook?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm not a fan of a lot of Patrick-centric episodes where it's just kind of Patrick goes off and does his own thing. It sometimes works, but it's like he's an idiot character that has to be written in a specific way for me to care about him as a protagonist. That's just how it is.
Tell stories about Gary who can't communicate with the others, and it just feels very tedious because he's off on his own.
So, yeah, so this statement is dumb for twofold, because A, they have explored it, even if not in super detail, that, you know, at the very least, Friend or Foe is an entire episode based around that. And then on the other hand, yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they haven't. Like, it's just, I don't want to see SpongeBob's backstory. I don't want to know what made him the way he is. I see it in every episode that I'm watching. You know, as soon as you pin it down, it's like, it's not the place for that. It's not right. And it's not right for these writers to come in and do it when it wasn't their vision. And I know that's pedantic, and I know, you know, the show's transformative and has had a ton of hands in it over the years. I'm not saying that Hillenburg's the only one that ever gets to do anything, but it's just like to specifically, not just to make another show, but to make a show specifically explaining, here are the origins of how SpongeBob and Patrick met. Even if Hillenburg knew about this, there's no way he worked on this. He was not well enough, and to be working on regular SpongeBob at the same time, which allegedly he was, like, there's no possible way. So it's someone else's interpretation of these characters, and it's probably gonna be terrible.
Well, imagine, too, if, like, Brian Robbins and these people were working on it at Nickelodeon during Hillenburg's last days, but they were, like, trying to keep it behind closed doors.
Oh, God. I mean...
It's making me think about how there's been another news story that's gotten a lot of coverage where Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, released a memoir, and he basically admits that, like, yeah, we got Lucas's story treatments for the sequel trilogy and threw them in the trash. And a lot of people are having that same debate about, like, you know, like the creator's vision and, like, what importance it is and just kind of, like, stepping on the franchise that was already there.
I don't want to point fingers at them keeping this behind closed doors and making sure he wasn't aware of it, because really, I don't know. I also...
That's just speculative, yeah.
Of course.
I don't know if the show's going to be good or bad. You know, it might be a surprise, but really, I don't see any reason why this couldn't have been a special or something, or been just one episode, or
the third movie, which is also what it's about.
Well,
and
the third
also
movie sets it up,
happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
there was not a lot of need for this to be its own show, is the thing, and I feel like there's something to be said for over-explaining concepts that didn't need to be explained, kind of like this could very easily become the midi-chlorians.
Oh yeah, if they give stupid explanations for like why is SpongeBob's laugh like this? It's like, oh well, when he was at camp, he swallowed a rock. Like, oh my god.
Why does Squidward like jazz music?
Yeah, because like Kelpie G was playing at the camp next door. Like it just like I don't need it. No one needs it. It's
gonna attract finger pointing so much if there's anything that it contradicts, and it's absolutely gonna contradict things because the main show contradicts itself all the time.
Oh yeah.
The fact
but the main show generally doesn't try to give an origin story to like
I mean, granted, if it was like Mermaid Man Begins, I'd love it, but I don't think it will be.
Guys, don't worry. It's not SpongeBob babies.
Oh, I hate that he says that because in the next line he goes on about talking about how they're younger and cuter, which is like
Sandy is really cute in it. She has braces.
I wanted to bring that up actually. Do we know anything about the character designs? Because I kept meaning to bring this up to somebody, but I saw these socks in Seattle, like in a store that were Sandy as a baby, and I was wondering if that was official merchandise. Like, do we know about?
Well, there was the episode Goo Goo Gas, which turned the cast into babies.
Okay.
I don't believe Sandy was in that episode, so I don't actually know if I've seen a young Sandy. So I'm not sure on that one, to be honest with you.
I'm trying to see if I can find it again though, but it's hard to find.
Was it CGI?
No, it was like stitched into the socks.
Oh.
That to me, that's a marketing person that's telling you like we're gonna sell so much merch because the plushies are gonna be cute.
We're gonna sell so much merch.
We got them, guys. We got them.
Can you imagine seeing baby SpongeBob? No. Can you imagine seeing kid SpongeBob on Kraft macaroni and cheese? How much macaroni and cheese that's gonna sell?
Ugh. It's really fun and it looks different, but still feels like SpongeBob. Well, then why isn't it just SpongeBob? Like, they've done these weird miniseries things before. They've done episodes. We're going to talk about an episode that's in stop motion. Like, even if they wanted to do a run of episodes in CG, nothing's stopping them.
They've changed the animation style for specials plenty of times. There's no reason to not do it.
Except that you get, again, like mentioned with Steven Universe Future, you get to, like, renegotiate certain things, and yeah, maybe they can get the voice actors for cheaper because they can manipulate their sentimentality towards the show. I'm really cynical today, but it's nothing about this looks very nice.
Nah, it feels very, very cash grabby on the surface, and maybe we're wrong. Maybe it'll be surprising. I mean, the franchise certainly makes enough money for them to take it seriously and give it a huge budget, but doesn't necessarily mean that they will.
Yeah.
Speculation aside, like, the facts are there. This is not like an auteur piece, or this isn't like a person with a creative vision making an original idea. This is very carefully constructed by a studio and a bunch of executives sitting in a conference room.
You had better believe that if it was Hillenburg's dying breath, like, this is the story he wants, this will be his legacy, you had better believe they would have marketed the heck out of that.
Oh, yeah. The untold story.
Well, after the outrage about the Super Bowl thing, they have been doing a lot of memorial attempts.
Right.
I think they're doing something this month with Pieguy, like a Pieguy special that's supposed to celebrate Hillenburg. It's called like SpongeBob Appreciation Day or something.
That's what the panel was about that I didn't go to, but at Comic-Con. I mean, to look at some of his another question says, what other shows are you working on that you're particularly excited about? And he says, the Blue's Clues relaunch. Okay. America's Most Musical Family. The Crystal Maze, which is... Wait, what? I didn't even hear about this show.
I mean, that's also a reboot.
Oh my god. It's a UK game show that they're bringing to the US because nothing is more original. It will definitely bring a whole new type of action and storytelling to Nick. I don't like Brian Robbins. I don't think he is a very good executive. He might be a fine person, but he seems like a hack, to be completely honest and blunt, in my opinion. All right, well, we're going to take a little break. And we are back. So, Scaredy Pants. It's a season 1 episode of SpongeBob in mid-season 1, and the episode is about SpongeBob being a big scaredy baby during Halloween, and kind of tired of everyone mocking him for being such a big scaredy baby, so he decides to get a real and scary costume in the Flying Dutchman, but he ends up looking like the Haunted Mattress.
Real costume.
He ends up in a really pathetic ghost costume that triggers the Flying Dutchman so much that he's going to come steal everyone's souls. But then he's scared of SpongeBob's brain.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I didn't even realize how literal the connection was between these two episodes.
Yeah. I have that written down, actually.
Yeah. We'll get to the comparisons. So, yeah, this is an old episode.
Very old. It definitely feels like a season 1 episode.
Thin outlines, really choppy animation.
Patrick's eyebrows.
The characterizations.
Mr. Krabs speaking softly.
A lot of the background fish that don't look like they're used any other time.
Yeah, like those 3 teenage fish.
Right. They might be in another episode. I don't know, but they're not used like they're just they're not recognizable. Not recognizable.
Redneckizable.
Yep.
It's Cousin Plankton.
So yeah, Scaredy Pants. What'd you guys think?
Immediately right off the bat, this episode reminded me of things from the early seasons that I missed. I kind of miss Mr. Krabs being like a father figure to SpongeBob. You don't see that much these days. I kind of miss Patrick being weirdly talented, almost too good at things that he tries. I'd probably only seen this episode once or twice, and I probably was like 12 or 13 the last time I saw it because of how rarely it airs, and if you miss it, it's gone. And I was surprised that having seen it so few times, how many good lines I remembered. Like, I knew Squidward was going to go, steal your soul, and then SpongeBob was going to jump. Of course, I remember the haunted mattress. So it was more memorable than I think I was expecting.
It's tough with early SpongeBob because it's the first 3 seasons. There's a lot of really memorable episodes and jokes. And so it does feel like I wouldn't say this is like a top tier episode by any stretch. But it still is good and still is enjoyable and does still have those classic lines. Like, yeah, the haunted mattress was immediately recognizable. It's not a line that I've quoted in the past 15 years of my life. But, like, as soon as I heard it, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a good one. I
It
remember
instantly
that.
rushes back to you.
Right, because I think it's said like twice in the episode, and they call him the haunted sleeping bag when he shaves his head. It's like...
It's so good.
Yeah.
I think it definitely isn't one of the funnier episodes of season 1 for sure.
Nah.
Like, it's not great, but it's still good, and I'm with you on it being enjoyable.
Yeah. It's also got one of the things is that it's got like this weird obtuseness, like the clogs. Like, for the life of me, I don't understand what that is referencing, or if it's just Patrick wanted SpongeBob to wear weird wooden shoes.
The shoes are Dutch, and it's the Dutchman.
Oh.
Yeah, it's because they don't know what the Flying Dutchman looks like. He just goes with something stereotypically Dutch and makes him wear them.
Oh, that's so good. I love that.
You know, it's not every day that there's like a 20-year-old SpongeBob joke that like I get now. Thank you for that, Chuggaa. I'm glad I said something. I was afraid of sounding stupid, and I probably did. But now I know at least. I was like, why is he wearing clogs? Is that just obtuse humor? But,
SpongeBob doesn't have hair, or does he?
Well, I feel like the thing is if they were to make that joke, and they probably would still make a joke like that, but there's no way he would just be like, put them on. He'd be like, so you could be a Dutch man. There'd be something really, they'd hit it in a really obvious way, which maybe I need because I'm a dummy.
Man, Patrick was actually pretty clever back then.
In the other episode, he's pretty clever too.
I mean, I did say I missed him being weirdly good at stuff. So.
What do you think, Monsters?
Yeah, I have to agree with the whole like. I've seen this episode a few times before, but it's definitely one of my least memorable episodes from the first few seasons. I also saw that a guy named Crystal on the Discord agreed with that statement. And it's odd because usually it's, for me at least, it's the holiday episodes that are some of the more memorable ones of a TV series. Like oftentimes when I think about a show, I usually try to look back and was like, you know, what was the Christmas episode or what was the Halloween episode? Because I don't know, those are like important things. And
I think honestly it's because the season 1 ones aren't specials and they aren't like this big fanfare. You have Fools in April, which is the April Fool's episode. You have the Valentine's Day episode, and then you have this episode. And you know, Nickelodeon was very stringent on when to air these episodes. As much as they love airing SpongeBob, you absolutely cannot air a Halloween episode outside of Halloween. You absolute madman.
It's so bizarre too because Valentine's Day only gets aired on Valentine's Day, and of course because of that, you never get to see the paper.
The paper's the infamous example that everyone brings up.
Yeah, you never see that episode randomly.
Well, and there's a reason why I Was a Teenage Gary has a missing scene that people are like, oh, it's gotta exist. It's because you haven't seen the episode that much. Like, that's the thing, because it only aired so often. Whenever the Halloween, the other half aired.
I was a Teenage Gary is perhaps the most forgettable season 1 episode because it's not that good. It's very all over the place. It's the sister episode to the Halloween special, which you can only see on Halloween. And it's like, I think there's just a want for it to be better than it is, so people are remembering it being cooler than it was.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I do kind of feel like a part of it is just in the medium that we were served this episode, and the Valentine's Day one, and maybe the April Fools. Although I don't think they were as strict with the April Fools.
No,
one.
Fools in April I've seen plenty of times.
Yeah. But because of that medium, there is this sense of, like, there is a nostalgia with it, but it not as strongly as, like, a lot of other episodes of season 1. Even episodes that aren't particularly remarkable, like...
Neptune Spatula...
Sure. They still are memorable in my mind, just because they were still aired a ton. So I do almost wonder if... I don't think that... If this episode was aired more, I don't think it would be, like, this cult amazing episode. Right. But if it was aired more, it might be seen as less of a novelty and more of just like, oh, it's still a solid episode. It might get, talked about a little more.
Yeah, I could see
yeah,
that.
But I agree with you, Chuggaa. I love the, like, kind of the dynamic between SpongeBob and Patrick in this episode.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
Because he seems smarter, but he's still kind of dumb. And, like, that's especially proven at the end when he gets scared by the thing that he helped to create.
Yeah.
I think it was your pink hat. The ending's fantastic. Like, it shocked me and made me laugh at the same time as a kid.
There are so few good ending gags in SpongeBob. A lot of times sometimes they're not great, and a lot of times they're just kind of not memorable. Like, the episode just kind of ends. Like, there'll be, like, a dumb joke about, like, the one that always sticks out to me is, like, Squidward putting his brain in the garbage at the end of Whatever Happened to SpongeBob. Okay, because it just doesn't have anything to do with anything. It's just a dumb, random physical gag to end the episode out on. Like, there's episodes that end like that. But Scaredy Pants actually that's a hit for both. It's like a payoff gag to something that happened a while ago in the episode. It's like a really punchy way to go out, and it's the conclusion to the story. It's not often that the gag is also, like, a plot point. Like,
I was going to add on that, like, the sound design in SpongeBob has always been top tier, but I felt like it was really, really good in this episode because to kind of help enhance the spooky environment of everything, they have all these odd sounds like these really uncanny screams and ghoul sounds, and it makes it adds, like, a lot of layers to the sound, and it makes it still comedic because they still sound out of place, but it also amps up the spookiness. So I found that to be really cool.
On the artistry of the episode, the visuals are also very nice. Like, there's a really good shot of the moon that you can see when Patrick's on the roof.
Oh, yeah.
That particularly stood out to me as nice, and just like the ambience of the
when SpongeBob gets lowered down on the rope, it's very well done.
Right. But, like, trick-or-treaters walking by, like, you get an immediate sense that this is Halloween.
I love the shading of season 1 SpongeBob. Like, it's a little bit dark compared to more recent SpongeBob, just in terms of the colors, but I love the color palette.
Mm-hmm. And the Flying Dutchman himself, like, I love it because he feels like a character out of, like, Rocko's Modern Life. Like, it's just kind of crazy to think that SpongeBob at one point was a 90s Nicktoon. Like, it had the sensibilities of that where, you'll have this giant ghost monster guy just come out of nowhere and start stealing souls. Like, that feels to me like a very Rocco or I don't know, like Angry Beavers or whatever type thing. Cat dog thing.
Can I bring up how, on the note of the Flying Dutchman, how much season 1 just hit the ground running with its ideas?
Yeah.
It's so rare that we get great, memorable minor characters who just keep coming back because they're so loved. Like, how the heck did you come up with Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, the Flying Dutchman, and Bubble Bass all in the same season? Like, they introduced so many concepts in the first season, and they're just... Those things have come back for years.
Yeah, so this is the first Flying Dutchman official actual appearance. He appeared on a magazine in Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost.
Oh, was that before this?
It was, yes.
I guess it's also kind of a less memorable episode, except for a few lines.
But yeah, this is his first appearance in the flesh, so it's actually one of the rare examples where we hear about a character before we actually see him in SpongeBob. Like, so it's kind of clear that he was a part of the show, and then they actually show him, and he's just kind of spooky. And he's cool. It's kind of hard to separate him out from the character that he kind of goes on to be. But in the episode alone, he does kind of do this cool little balance between being creepy, but definitely still kind of a comedic character. Like, I wouldn't say he's, like, so dark, like, that he'd scare anyone. But he definitely has a level of menace that, after years and years of the character being used for gags and you know, that's just kind of worn down.
Well, in his first appearance, technically, they were like, when he died, they used his body as a window display.
Right. Yeah. It's a little dark.
I found it funny when, towards the beginning of the episode, Mr. Krabs scares SpongeBob when they're still in the Krusty Krab, and he goes, he gets easier to scare every year. I was like, wait. Of course, like, we just had this conversation about SpongeBob and continuity, but this isn't long after Help Wanted.
No, SpongeBob's working there for 10 years at that point, Monsters.
Camp Coral will explain all, don't you worry.
Shout outs to, like, my favorite moment in the episode, which was just the awkward small talk between Squidward and Sandy. Because,
oh god, I love that.
I mean, for one, they don't interact. Like, I don't think at all in the first season. Like, outside of that, maybe like a small bit in Culture Shock or something. Like, but they are characters that generally exist in, like, different spheres outside of just the one or two lines they say to each other. Like, if Sandy's ordering at the Krusty Krab or something, you know. And even to this day, although there have been some episodes that kind of pair them up, like Squid Defense or whatever, it's still not that often that they're a duo. So they are kind of these characters that just exist in this weird adjacent to SpongeBob space. And so it's just kind of funny to see them, A, having small talk, and just the fact that, like, she's dressed as a goldfish in a bowl, which feels, like, offensive in some way. Like, not really offensive, but just offensive to the culture.
I don't remember the joke exactly, but
Squidward doesn't know what she is. And she's like, I'm a goldfish in a bowl. And
it's like actually like being a prisoner for Halloween, like in their universe.
Well, it's like, yeah, and it's such a relatable moment because, I mean, if you dress up in a costume for Halloween and you're around other people, inevitably someone will be like, oh, what are you supposed to be? Like, maybe they'll say it in a nice way, maybe they won't, but you'll get that question. If you say you're like, you know, I'm character actress Margot Martindale from BoJack Horseman, like, you know, you'll get people that are like, what? Like, so I feel like that little moment just kind of conveyed some of the awkwardness of dressing up as something that not everyone's going to get.
Yeah, this episode has so many good little things. Like, I don't remember how they say the joke exactly, but when the Flying Dutchman pops in and he talks about, like, people dressing as him, and then Squidward just quickly takes off his thing and goes... that was really funny.
Here's an important question for the panel here. When Mr. Krabs and Squidward are scaring SpongeBob at the beginning, and they're talking about how, like, the Flying Dutchman, that souls are pickles, and Squidward says, I've come for your pickle. Do you think that was an intentional dirty joke, or is that just, you know,
Yes.
after all this... Okay.
And I remember the other thing, and I don't know why I find this funny whenever characters do this, but when Mr. Krabs brings in the campfire and he goes, hot, 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 hot. I don't know, like just kind of looking into like the psychology of the comedy. Like, I don't know what about that makes me laugh at it, but it's just funny.
I'll break it down and ruin it for you. He's acknowledging the real fact that fire is hot, despite the fact that it completely breaks reality that fire is underwater. It's this mixture of acknowledging. It's like when they say, like, oh, there's not supposed to be fire underwater, and the fire goes out. Like, you know what I mean? It's this acknowledgement of the nonsensical nature of it. Plus, there's something funny about Mr. Krabs just, like, muttering it off screen, like, as he's holding logs. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. There is so much charm.
I didn't know the Mr. Krabs choking face was in this episode until I saw it last night either.
I'm not a fan of that, to be completely honest.
Oh,
with you.
really?
I know that's like a meme face. It just makes me uncomfortable, to be honest.
I can't blame you, but
I understand if people like it. You could like it.
Mhm.
Also, a rare episode where almost the whole cast is there.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
Does Gary appear in this episode
Yes,
at
I
SpongeBob's
think.
house? Okay. So then, yeah, basically everyone but, like, Mrs. Puff and Plankton.
No,
No,
she's
Mrs.
there.
Puff is in a boat at the beginning.
Yeah.
She
Oh,
makes fun of
sorry, everyone
SpongeBob.
that-
Remember when he's up on the light?
Oh, okay. Everyone but Plankton then.
I guess Plankton had only had one appearance by this point.
But yeah, he didn't appear all that often in the first few seasons.
If I can add one thing, because of this episode's rare airing, the very last classic SpongeBob episode that I ever saw for the first time, after this is by the time season 4 was airing, was I Was a Teenage Gary. What a letdown that was. It's like, oh goody, one more classic SpongeBob episode I've never watched. Oh.
So, however many, almost 20 years later, they decided they're going to do Halloween again, and they're going to call it The Legend of Boo-Kini Bottom, because apparently none of the stop-motion specials are allowed to have good titles.
At least it's
better
than It's a SpongeBob Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah. At least they're improving with time. Give them that.
Yes. At least I know what episode this is, although there is also... Isn't there The Legend of Bikini Bottom or something? Isn't there an episode?
No, that's the season 6 set of episodes, The Legends of Bikini Bottom.
Oh God, there's that.
But that's just a marketing thing. The episodes themselves don't actually have anything to do with that name.
Oh, there's The Curse of Bikini Bottom, I think, is the one where SpongeBob becomes a ghost. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So in this episode, SpongeBob is a big scaredy baby at Halloween, and he doesn't want to be a big scaredy baby at Halloween, so Patrick helps him out by telling him just to laugh, you dummy. And that works. And then SpongeBob finds everything scary funny, which offends the Flying Dutchman. So he kidnaps his friends, and SpongeBob must save the day by traumatizing the Flying Dutchman with his brain.
By telling the Flying Dutchman about psychedelic drugs.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of parallels.
Yeah. So I've made it known that I am a pretty big fan of the stop motion Christmas episode, and I have to say, in terms of just pure animation, this one kind of one-ups it. It's everything I like about that, and then a little bit better. It's just all those little details, all those little shifts where at one point there's ghosts floating and the ghosts are clearly puppets instead of stop motion. Mm-hmm. Just, the weird 2D animation that's inside SpongeBob's head. Just they really do up the ante on the whole multimedia thing, and just kind of going nuts with all sorts of things, all sorts of different ways to animate this.
Oh yeah. No, the stop motion lends itself so well to, or just, I guess the overall format of the episode lends itself so well to so many great visual gags. My personal favorite was the one where they're in Sandy's tree dome, and he reaches with his hand into the basket, and it cuts to a shot of an actual hand kind of swirling around with noodles.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And well, before I get to my other point, I did find it odd how SpongeBob and Patrick were in the tree dome without having their water bubbles on.
We've talked about, they did it in the other one too. It's just because they couldn't figure out how to animate with
that
them.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But the company that does all this stuff is called Screen Novelties. If you haven't heard of them, they did stop motion stuff for Chowder and Flapjack, among other things. And it's actually kind of a weird connection too, because Brian Doyle Murray is the guy that voices the Flying Dutchman, and he also voiced Knuckles in Flapjack.
Right, that's true.
That's cool. He has a very distinct voice.
Yeah, he absolutely does. He also voiced the gym teacher fish on My Gym Partner's a Monkey for some random trivia.
Oh yeah,
and it works perfectly, right? The stop motion worked with the Christmas, or at least logically followed, because there's a lot of stop motion Christmas old timey specials. And for Halloween, it works because they're able to kind of push it to make all of these really spooky, crazy, weird visuals.
Yeah. Animation's great. I feel like it's turned up to 11 compared to what the Christmas special was, because you have much more action-packed animation, so many crazy things going on.
At one point, they're on a roller coaster with just all this insanity going on around them.
The music scene is my favorite. So clever, so fluid, so many things happen. And I also think that mixed media, having it sometimes live action, sometimes puppetry, sometimes stop motion and all that, I think that lends itself especially well to a Halloween special, because it makes it so unexpected where the visuals are going to go next, and making it feel creepy. It almost feels like a Courage the Cowardly Dog episode, and how they would use that to make those episodes creepy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I will note there's nothing actually scary in this episode.
No,
so
it's not.
If you're
it's
expecting,
not scary
it's not
or anything.
That
it's just that it makes it
it's
feel.
It's creepy. I'll give it creepy.
Yeah. It gets the atmosphere right. You never know what to expect next. The ending with the Dutchman inside SpongeBob's brain is, you don't know what to expect there, and it goes such bizarre
baby
places.
SpongeBob.
Of course, always with baby SpongeBob.
This is the second time you've had me on to talk about Sponge Fetus. If we can move on, I gotta ask you, Pieguy. I hope you didn't skip the intro to this time.
No.
Thank God. It's such a good intro. SpongeBob driving in the intro, though. I thought that was kind of interesting. He's actually driving a boatmobile on the beach.
It's an intro. I mean, he's driven boatmobiles, just not well. Like,
I guess
that's
when his
the
name
thing.
comes up in his own opening theme, he is driving in one of the shots.
Fair enough. Fair enough, yeah.
His skeleton gets foreshadowed in the opening too, which is kind of a cool touch.
That skeleton animation is really cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Also, kind of parallel to the fact that he's just shaved down in the original or in the first one. We get like stripped down SpongeBob in both of these.
No pink hat this time.
I read that apparently Vincent Waller said somewhere that they had planned and completely written out Patchy segments for this episode, but because the animation and like the episode itself had already reached 22 minutes, and they just scrapped everything.
Yeah,
for Patchy.
Honestly, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think oh, why aren't there because it doesn't need it.
It stands on its own.
It works fine without it.
Yeah, and especially because. I mean, I feel like something about the Patchy stuff that I've never really talked about, but just Patchy also works a little bit better in terms of actual television because there's actual commercial breaks to lead in and out of. When you're watching it streaming, which I assume we all did, there's just a second of black. You know what I mean? So there's no reason to interrupt the story. You're already interrupting the story in the old episodes when you're watching it on TV. So having Patchy there kind of makes sense. But
or when you watch the extended Patchy segments of Truth or Square, you can only get on demand.
But yeah, no. So I feel like he's extra useless now that a lot of this stuff is watched online without commercials.
Mm-hmm.
I will note that it's about halfway into the episode before the Flying Dutchman shows up and actually starts the plot.
Yeah, that's a criticism I have written down, is that it does take a little bit to get to the Dutchman, and he's easily the best part.
Yeah, and I mean it's basically the structure is it starts out. Very similar to Scaredy Pants, and Patrick teaches him to laugh, and okay, so that's important. But then basically they go to see Squidward's house do its thing, and then they go to see the Krusty Krab do the chum bucket thing, and then they go see a chum bucket to the Krusty, and it's just
and Sandy's Tree Dome.
Right, which does set up the robot, which I mean doesn't really need to be set up because it doesn't do anything later either. I like the animation in it, but if I'm being completely honest, I think I might have liked an 11-minute version of this episode where they get to the point of the Flying Dutchman just immediately.
No, I agree. I think one haunted house is just as effective as 4.
Yeah, essentially. It's not complicated. There's no twists and turns they need to have this. I understand, listen, if you're gonna budget out to do the stop motion thing, you're going to want to make a half-hour special out of it. I understand that. But, I really do kind of feel like it was cool seeing them at Sandy's Tree Dome, but the Mr. Krabs and Plankton, it didn't do anything for me, honestly.
Can I point out that Squidward runs 2 haunted houses in the same night? Because, he's helping out at the Krusty Krab's haunted house while his own house is a haunted house.
I think his house might just be legitimately haunted, though.
I mean, I love the idea of Squidward having too much fun being mean to people on Halloween, because it's great when he gets too into things, and I feel like that's a trademark of the Hillenburg eras of the show, but it's really stupid when you think about it.
It's also, what is it, onions that come down and roll out at the show?
Yeah, he's just there is no candy, have some onions, and everybody runs away screaming.
Super non sequitur.
Also, what's with the recast and watching episodes of shows that reference Soylent Green?
When have we done that last, Monsters?
We talked about it in the High Five of Doom, the Rocco episode, and we also talked about it in Employee of the Month, which was our first recast.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so, Plankton was like, you're eating people patties. Yeah.
And SpongeBob just laughs maniacally.
It's a good Plankton impression. I like, you mentioned you like Smarter Patrick or whatever. I think, weirdly enough, I think this Patrick is, as closest as he's been in a while to being, original Patrick, where he has an idea that's kind of dumb but also works for a while.
Yeah, he was, again, too good at what he tried to do.
Completely good-natured in the episode, nothing mean about him, nothing like obnoxiously stupid.
They've gotten him down really good in season 11.
Well, he helped. He actually helped SpongeBob. That was that was nice. So yeah, but I did feel like it very much felt like old Patrick. Like not even like, oh well, this is a version of Patrick I like. No, this is like a Patrick that is giving SpongeBob bad advice that kind of backfires.
It's sort of funny that he's good in this one though, because I remember that in the last recast I was on, we noted how in Truth or Square he was actually one of the good parts of the episode. That he wasn't terrible for all the failings of that episode.
True, but what did he do in that episode?
Well, he had the a high school diploma, that line.
Right. Yeah.
Like he had good lines, but yeah, he wasn't really super important.
Remember when you and Sandy got married?
No.
No,
I don't.
Let's.
Didn't happen.
I'm happy I don't have any foreseeable reason to watch that thing again.
I will say that on the contrary, one of my, I don't want to say criticisms, more just a personal pet peeve of mine about some of SpongeBob's more modern characterization is the frequency of how much he laughs and how obnoxious it can be sometimes.
Don't ever watch Funny Pants. Please spare yourself.
I'll avoid that at all costs. But it's I don't know why, it just really bothers me, and it's more annoying than I find it to be useful or anything. And I was afraid that when they started getting into that, because it seemed like they were very much setting up the tracks for the rest of the episode, I was afraid that it was going to ruin it for me because of how much that personally bothers me. But I was pleasantly surprised when it took that kind of clever turn and made SpongeBob the odd one out and led him into that situation with the Flying Dutchman. I thought that was really well done, and yeah, I actually really liked that.
Well, to start comparing a little bit, Boo-Kini Bottom escalates. Like that's the thing. Scaredy Pants, it's good, but it's just like the problem nothing about it escalates. Like it's just like the Flying Dutchman shows up and then he's scared off. Whereas
it's kind of linear, yeah.
Right. Well, I don't know that any of these are non-linear, but but yeah, in this one it's just kind of like he annoys the Flying Dutchman, and then the Flying Dutchman gets like really annoyed and he like kidnaps the ghosts of all of SpongeBob's friends, whereas like although he says he's going to take their souls in the other episode, no one is actually like nothing really happens. You know what I mean? It's like
it's a threat.
Right, it's like an empty threat, whereas in this one it's like he goes from kidnapping SpongeBob and trying to make him to like really like threatening his friends, like actually threatening, not just a verbal threat or whatever. And I felt like that was good. That was something that maybe Scaredy Pants could have used a little more of. Maybe if Flying Dutchman had shown up a little bit sooner in Scaredy Pants, they could have done a little bit more with him, rather than just kind of him being like, "Ooh, I'm evil," and then, "Ooh, I'm scared."
I think the Dutchman translated best into the new art style. It's so detailed and expressive. Whoever made his puppet really needs to be proud.
They did a lot of good things with like compositing to do like a ghostly effect.
Yeah, he was handled so well for the new animation style.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I should also point out that the Dungeons and Dragons fanfare played when Patrick showed up in his night uniform.
Oh.
Classic.
I'd like to point out that there is a canon appearance where Plankton dresses up as Satan himself.
He is so cute in that little devil costume. Plankton doesn't do a lot. It's kind of weird because
he's a formality.
He's set up as like well, I like how the Dutchman captures him as one of SpongeBob's friends. I kind of was expecting a line with him to be like, "I'm not even his friend" or something like that. But he defects to the Dutchman's side, but he doesn't do anything except tell the Dutchman that SpongeBob's brain is scary. Which, by the way, he says that he's been inside SpongeBob's brain once, which he's been inside SpongeBob's brain at least 3 times. And the weirdest thing is that by the context in which he says it, you would assume he's referring to like the first Plankton episode, right? Where he was piloting SpongeBob's brain.
The inside job?
No, Plankton.
Plankton! Exclamation point.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was just going to say that I thought he was talking about the inside job, but...
Well, based on the context of what happens, the most likely thing he was talking about is actually the SpongeBob movie 2, in which case Plankton falls into SpongeBob's head, and it's an incredibly cutesy world. Not animated in the same way, but very, very similar sort of like sickeningly sweet cuteness inside of SpongeBob's mind that drives Plankton nuts. Because that doesn't happen in the inside job, and that doesn't happen in Plankton! So, I'm going to choose in my heart to believe that they're referencing the second movie, which canonically doesn't have to take place at the end of the series. In fact, probably does take place before SpongeBob Movie 1, if we had to put a pin on it.
Yeah, actually. Though I do find it really funny how the Dutchman doesn't think SpongeBob can scare him at all when SpongeBob already scared him with his brain.
Yeah, yeah. There's something really, like, just strangely poetic about that. Like, could that just be a coincidence? Is that humanly possible? Or did someone watch the original episode and was like, let's scare him with his brain, but, like, in a different way?
Whatever it is, it's kind of funny. If it's not clever, then it is still really funny.
There's something very unsettling about inside SpongeBob's brain. I'll say that that's the creepiest part. It's like animated. It looks like it's made in MS Paint. I'm sure it wasn't, but it's kind of like this. I don't know why, but I'm thinking of like some sort of anti-drug commercial type animation.
It reminded me of
Really?
the Beatles' Yellow Submarine.
Yes, no, that's exactly like the 1960s kind of psychedelic, really wacky.
Yeah, a little off.
It also
model.
seems like something you'd see on Adult Swim.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, it was cool. Like, I'm not hating on the animation. It was just, it was intentionally, I think, a little bit unpolished or like a little off model.
Things are unsettling when they don't look right.
Right. Uncanny Valley, and it's very surprising. Like, you don't expect that to happen. Oh, a joke I really liked was when the Dutchman steals their souls and their bodies are like dead corpses, and they're just kids egg Mr. Krabs and Squidward's like lifeless corpse.
That's right. Also, yeah, we got to see dead bodies in this episode of the characters.
Nice. It's also kind of funny how like SpongeBob never really gives it a second thought about like scary being funny. He just kind of internalizes it, and then the second he thinks about it and tries to do the math on it, he's like, Patrick's like, no, I was wrong, and SpongeBob's like, oh yeah, this is scary.
The chalkboard was great.
There's something very SpongeBob about it. Where would you guys rank this on like rehash scale or whatever? Like, I would say like the scale would being, they just blatantly rip off ideas in an untransformative, uninteresting way on one end of the scale, and then the other end of the scale being there are things in common and things may have been intentional illusions, but it's transformative enough, different enough, weird enough, funny enough, successful enough to still feel similar, but not like you didn't need to see this.
The latter for me.
Okay.
I feel like this is kind of like, I guess, the Majora's Mask of SpongeBob specials, where all the same elements are present, but they're rearranged and done very differently.
Okay.
That's kind of how I'd say.
Well, yeah, it's
I
like
was wondering where that was going.
in Scaredy Pants, they're the ones being laughed at, and then in this episode, they're the ones doing all the laughing.
That's a good point.
Yeah, actually, hadn't thought of it that way.
It is like the Dutchman is deeply offended. He's triggered by SpongeBob's actions in both of them, but in different ways. And like I said, I mean, I feel like if anything, Boo-Kini kind of expands a little bit on the story to make the Flying Dutchman a little more threatening and to raise the stakes a little bit. So yeah, I would say that it feels pretty transformative, and a lot of the similarities are more, I don't know, like just kind of like yeah, it's a character trait that SpongeBob is easily scared, and he'd naturally want to get around that on Halloween.
The similarities are fun.
I would say that I think honestly they should have gone a step forward and just acknowledged the other episode. Like in some way, just been like, oh yeah, ever since that happened, I haven't been able to enjoy Halloween. You know what I mean? Like I just so that it feels intentional, because that would kind of put it more as like okay, we're intentionally calling back instead of just there's similarities here. Is this intentional? ?
More recent SpongeBob has had better continuity than ever too, so it feels kind of strange that they didn't go for it.
Right. I mean, yeah, in this, we have Plankton mentioning he's been in SpongeBob's brain. Regardless of which time he's mentioning it, it did happen. And that's basically what Plankton gets to do in the episode. He gets to accidentally doom the Flying Dutchman. The design on Creepy Plankton is pretty cool, though.
Yeah, with the jaw and the teeth.
You know who he reminded me of? and I guess this is scary in its own right, but Scary Plankton reminded me of Pinter from Planet Sheen, who's Dorcas's like sidekick.
Why?
Yeah.
You
Why?
keep bringing up bad things. Is it because you don't like any episode of SpongeBob we have talked about until now, and so you have to balance it out by bringing up bad things now that you're enjoying the show?
I'm pretty sure he liked Christmas Who.
I like Christmas too. I like SpongeBob Meets the Strankler.
Yeah. None of this revisionist history here, Chuggaa.
Yeah.
I'll have you know, Monsters is only a snob about newer things.
And Camp Lazlo.
Yes.
Well, you know, a negative snob about newer things. If it's after 2008, Monsters hates. That's the little rhyme that you gotta.
Automatically. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
That's like my jingle.
Hey, wait. Unless it's by Gendy, then it's trendy.
If it's after 2008, it's something that Monsters hates.
Ow, ow.
Oh man. Okay.
Are we gonna get to the comparing, or?
Yeah, dude. Go for it.
I think out of the two, I would actually pick Bikini Bottom. I think I get more out of the little details. I like just how fun the Dutchman is. The animation has so many things that are just can be appreciated. I was rewinding and looking at things again. I'll admit that Bikini Bottom does take a while to get going, and I could see that turning some people off. But I think my laughs per minute were roughly equal, but Scaredy Pants is for sure more quotable, and if that's important to you, then I could see that being the bigger one. But no, I think Bikini Bottom went to my tastes more than the other one, and I would absolutely rewatch it more.
Oh, real quick, I want to point out the fact that they say something about a bearfish, and I'm like, do you mean the sea bear? Like it's called a sea bear. It's not a bearfish. Come on.
Sandy Squirrel.
And anyway, yeah, I am actually in agreement as well. I feel like nothing at all wrong with the season 1 episode, but it just Boo-Kini kind of expands upon it in a lot of ways, and even if it does take a little bit of basically I think it would be a better episode if it was shorter, but I don't think that beginning really holds it back. I just think that it would, like, you could boil this episode down a little bit.
At least we got to see more characters in stop motion this way.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when it comes to the stop motion animation, like, even if there's like nothing interesting happening in the story or whatever, there's still some visual intrigue to it, just by its existence and just by how good and cool and weird and interesting it looks. I also feel like they kind of toned down a little bit of the like ugly cute nature from the Christmas special. Like, it feels like the designs are a little more leaning into just normal designs rather than being kind of like these weird stylized designs that not everyone is into. And especially because the characters are wearing costumes, so that whole like real life element doesn't play into it as much. Like, the textures aren't as, I guess, detailed or as like realistic. But yeah, no, Boo-Kini just kind of takes it and expands upon it. Scaredy Pants will always have a place in my heart, and I mean, the haunted mattress probably is my favorite joke or line in just like both of these episodes. But yeah, no, Boo-Kini has a decent amount of jokes, really nice looking animation, a story that's a little bit better, and whether intentional or not, there is kind of this nice little rhyming thing with Scaredy Pants that I
Like
do
poetry, sort of,
appreciate.
they rhyme.
Yep. George Lucas. Yep. Intentional. He's not wrong. Listen, George Lucas might be a hack in some ways, but he is correct in saying that if you are able to make a story where things call back to pre-existing themes in a way, it strengthens the narrative. Okay. Anyway, Monsters, what do you think?
Well, I'll just preface it by saying that I basically went in equal-minded with these two, because although it was my first time seeing Bikini Bottom, and I have seen Scaredy Pants before, it's been so long, and really the only part I remembered was the part where SpongeBob hangs from the ceiling, and also the brain part. So
You sound like a creepypasta.
and also the part where Squidward's eyes are huge and bloodied.
And Mr.
No.
Krabs dying. No.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. There was actually an extended scene in Scaredy Pants right after Mr. Krabs chokes where you actually see him pass out and give his last breath, and he actually dies.
You guys remember that You guys remember that SpongeBob episode where they're in an event and they recall that time where Mr. Krabs dies?
Will you stop? Will you stop? Both of you need to stop referencing Truth or Square, or else we're gonna have a problem.
I've been a bad boy.
Hey, Mr. Krabs, do you remember when you died?
That would have actually been a good fake clip show.
Hey, Mr. Krabs, you remember when the show was good? What do you think, monsters? Please.
I'm in agreement with you guys. The visual gags are completely on point. It was funny, super creative, very refreshing. And I think overall, just the scale of it is huge. Obviously, I think this has the benefit of having a more realized world and also a presumably larger budget and more time to work on things than an ordinary 11-minute episode of SpongeBob. But I think it was...
It felt expensive.
Super well done, all things considered, and I commend whoever was in charge of the production design on this one.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm surprised. I thought you were going to go for the Scaredy Pants.
No, I didn't really find it to be that interesting, really. Like, some of the lines were memorable and everything, and it was okay, but I would put it definitely in the bottom of my season 1 episodes.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was at the bottom, though, but definitely in the lower tier for me.
Okay, we have some viewer comments.
I guess I'll start with the first one.
Sure.
So this one is from Employee a Million, and they say, I love both episodes, so it isn't as easy to pick one over the other this time. Scaredy Pants is a classic SpongeBob episode from start to finish, with all of the offbeat shenanigans you'd expect from a season 1 episode. And it thankfully ends up being one of the ones that doesn't feel very archaic today, since it has a brilliant atmosphere and a fantastic, satisfying ending. Bikini Bottom takes advantage of the double-digit season strength's fan service, HD animation, and an extra dollop of surrealism. That last one does result in the weakest portion of the special, but in every other aspect, Screen Novelties outdid themselves with the stop motion and mixed media compared to their Christmas special. I'm more partial to Scaredy Pants since it's shorter and quicker to put on and enjoy, but the Legend of Boo-Kini Bottom completely clears the name of bottom-related legends. Well said.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Kirby Over Yonder says, I like both of these episodes. SpongeBob Season 1 is interesting because it's a lot slower paced and more atmospheric than the later seasons. It's not a laugh-out-loud hilarious episode like Rock Bottom, but it's very charming. It's nice to see the characters interact with each other, and I like how the episode takes place entirely during night. Bikini Bottom is amazing and one of my favorite recent SpongeBob episodes. I'm a big fan of stop motion, and the stop motion in this episode is fantastic. There's so much detail put into it, and it still manages to feel like a SpongeBob episode. The way they use characters like the Flying Dutchman, Plankton, and Sandy is a ton of fun. The song is also really memorable. Both of these episodes do a great job capturing the Halloween spirit, though I think I'd go with Bikini Bottom for being more interesting and memorable. I like that's a good one. We didn't really talk about, but the song that whole roller coaster sequence is great. This is the best. This is the best.
No,
part of the
I
episode.
touched on it. I love that.
It's really good.
But yeah, like there's not really much to talk about it with it because it's like really cool, surreal, ghosty visuals mixed with a song that like it's not like I could tell you the lyrics to the song, but it's just like a nice jingle that goes with it.
I mean, 1 minute it's puppetry, the next minute it's a camera and a pinball machine. Just what isn't there to love?
Yeah.
Well, it's creepy, but it's also still kind of like a sea shanty of sorts.
I do think that Scaredy Pants does do maybe like one thing better in the fact that like that ending does stick with you. Regardless of how much you remember the rest of the episode, SpongeBob with his brain out, scaring everyone else, that is like an amazing ending that just...
I love it too how he's not even like they don't take a second to like have him have a realization or like get confused by why everyone's running. He just kind of sits there smiling and everyone's just freaking out.
Did you see the SpongeBob Twitter account noted that Patrick might have been trying to make him look like Squidward?
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah, like his head is shaped the same way, and he has like kind of a stalk in the middle with a smile.
Very interesting. Cool design, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Chuggaa, would you like to read the last one?
Sure. This one comes from Gravity. I'm sure you're easy to find on Google. I may have had my nostalgia glasses on, but I really like the Scaredy Pants one better. I love the jokes. Squidward's "I've come for your pickle" is a forever a quotable line, and Mr. Krabs saying "hot, hot, hot, hot" as he is carried over the campfire I find hilarious. Then the reveal that Patrick shaved SpongeBob all the way down to his brain as a kid actually shocked me as well as made me laugh. I enjoy the special to this day, and while I have respect for the new special, it can't replace what I grew up with. However, I completely understand why kids, or anyone, would like Bikini Bottom better.
That's a very well-reasoned take. I appreciate that, Gravity.
Very level-headed, yeah.
Very down to earth.
Not just blind like season 1 was better.
Okay, so before we move on to trivia, I got one question for you boys.
Oh.
Which holiday special that SpongeBob's already done do you want to see get the CG treatment? Your options are basically like...
Do you mean stop motion, not CG, or...
Oh, sorry. Get the stop motion treatment, yes. Your options are Fools in April, do an April Fool's Day episode. Valentine's Day. Opposite Day, I guess, technically. And Leif Erikson Day.
I was going to mention that one. Yeah, October 9th, Leif Erikson's Day.
I think, honestly, Leif Erikson Day is the most SpongeBob holiday of them all.
Yeah.
Like, there's... You can't tell me that Valentine's Day or April Fool's Day feels more SpongeBob than that.
I do feel like they could do some fun things with an April Fool's stop motion special, but man, now that I just like threw that idea out there, like the idea of a whole episode or special focused on Leif Erikson Day. See, like that's cool. That would be cool fan service because it's like that's not like it's just an opening gag in Bubble Buddy. Like the whole episode has nothing to do with Leif Erikson Day except for that one little bit.
It's more memorable than the whole rest of the episode. It's the thing people take away from it.
Yeah, the only reason why Leif Erikson's Day is relevant today is because of SpongeBob.
Right. So if they were to do an episode based on Leif Erikson, I feel like that's a way to incorporate something that is uniquely tied to SpongeBob without making it feel like, oh, I don't know, some sort of retread where they're in some sort of dimension of doodles. Just throwing that out there.
With how many things they've given their own episode, they can absolutely acknowledge something that they gave cultural significance to, because, yeah, that episode, that holiday is known the world over thanks to SpongeBob.
All right, Monsters, it's SpongeBob, so you're doing trivia.
All right, so bringing back that trivia game where I read off episode synopses from the SpongeBob wiki, and you guys have to guess which episode and which season they're from.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I'll have Pieguy go first, and then Chuggaa.
Okay.
Maybe could we alternate?
Sure. Okay, I don't see why
That's
not.
more fair. Yeah, let's do that.
All right, sounds good. All right, so let's start off with our first prompt. The synopsis reads, Squidward executes his play at the Krusty Krab. Pieguy?
The Play's the Thing from season 7.
I'm going to match that answer. The Play's the Thing from season 7.
That's correct.
Woo!
Yep, the Play's the Thing from season 7, and it was paired with Rodeo Days.
Oh, God.
If we had to name the sister episode, that'd be evil.
I remember the title, The Play's the Thing. Like, for some reason, that sticks with me. Isn't that a take on some sort of Shakespeare quote?
Not sure.
It's like the something's the thing, like the...
I remember it was like a weirdly meta episode where like Squidward's play is about being miserable working at the Krusty Krab while he's working at the Krusty Krab.
Yep.
The Thing's the Thing.
The Thing's the
Yeah.
play.
Oh, no, the thing is not anything we need to be talking about.
LPG, excuse me.
All right, one to one. Here we go.
1-1, yep. All right, moving on to the second question, or synopsis. Plankton becomes a ghost to steal the secret formula, but requires a few lessons from the Flying Dutchman.
Oh.
That's a new episode that it hasn't even aired yet, isn't it?
No?
It's a season 12 episode. And I just saw this being advertised.
Don't I go first on this one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Chuggaa does
Sorry.
go first.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to stop you before you said anything out loud. Well, the problem is I don't have a clue because I haven't started season 12 yet. Spookton?
Spookton. Okay.
All right. Well,
Season 12.
Yeah, I'm still saying season 12, and I'm going to say Plankton's put to rest.
That's a creepypasta and a half.
All right, well, unfortunately, you're both incorrect. The episode is called The Ghost of Plankton.
We could have gotten that.
It is indeed from season 12, and it aired yesterday as of recording this.
All right, Monsters. Listen, I appreciate you going for the trick questions. That's what I would do. So good job.
No,
Thank you.
good work.
Thank you. All right, so you're both tied at 1 point. Pieguy, you start on this one.
Mhm.
Synopsis number 3. SpongeBob takes care of stray snails.
Oh boy. I remember not liking this episode.
Yeah.
He just becomes a hoarder, but with snails. Oh! It's Sanctuary, and it's from season. Oh goodness, season 9.
Okay, Chuggaa.
Sanctuary season 10.
Hi guys, correct. It's season.
Yes.
9.
I thought it was later.
Season 10 is the one with the stupid worms. That's what he gets infested with in season 10. Every season, SpongeBob gets infested with something, because why not? No, it's true. It does.
Hi guys, up 2-1. Move on to synopsis number 4. Chuggaa, you start on this one. SpongeBob gets his pals to help him fix up his pineapple home, which is in need of serious repairs.
Okay. Home Sweet Pineapple season 6.
Okay. Hi guy.
So, this was a good prompt, Monsters. I think you
Yeah.
know why. I want to say it's Pineapple Sweet Pineapple season 7.
Both of you were incorrect on both fronts. I picked this episode. I picked this episode because the.
Well, what is it?
Well, I'll say that the title, like, I don't think it's a very good title. The title is Home Sweet Rubble. So, so you guys were close in that regard because it is like Home Sweet Pineapple.
It's a play, yeah.
I don't get the rubble part, but it's from season 8.
Oh.
But good attempts. Good attempts. You were close.
You are Klaus.
What?
Wonderful.
You wear clothes.
All right, so Pieguy's still at 2. Chuggaa, you're at 1. We're moving on to the final synopsis. If Pieguy gets this wrong, you have the opportunity to tie him, Chuggaa. Although Pieguy does start on this one.
Just call me PIEGUYRULZ.
All right. Final synopsis. SpongeBob and Patrick search for oxygen for Sandy after they ruin her oxygen supply.
No. This is a weird episode. Hey, I don't think this is correct, but I'm gonna call it Saving Sandy, and it is from season 9.
Okay. Chuggaa?
Bubble Troubles season 6.
Oh, no!
Oh, it's
Okay,
not season
so
6.
yeah, it's Bubble Troubles, which wouldn't sound like an episode of that, because it'd
No.
be like Bubble Buddy or something. No, but it is Bubble Troubles, but it's from season 8.
Too early.
Oh. Wow.
So I guess I did a pretty good job in tricking you guys up.
You did
Yeah,
a
that was
great
good.
job,
Thanks.
buddy. Good job, man.
Pieguy wins with 2 points.
Woo! Holy retreads. I didn't tell you. By the way, Monsters, that's our new catchphrase for the recast. Batman said it in the
Holy
Batman
retreads.
crossover. He was talking about tire treads, but we're gonna
snag that, yeah. We're gonna retread that.
yeah.
All right, well, good job to both of you.
Thank you for doing that, Monsters. Now, because this is something that I know is very near to you, and it contains a show that is also very near to you, I will let you announce what we're going to do next week. This is very exciting.
This is super exciting. Perhaps one of the most ambitious things we've done in the cast. This is going to be super fun. I think all of you should look forward to this. Obviously, we had a few shakeups, but if you couldn't tell, we've been trying to do some spooky, creepy, Halloween-related things for the month of October. And to close out the month, we're going to be tackling, drumroll, Cartoon Network Invaded. For those of you that don't know what this was, it was basically a giant, I guess, like, indirect crossover event that Cartoon Network had in the late 2000s. I think it must have been like 2007 or 2008, where basically they made they premiered a string of episodes from a lot of their popular shows at the time that had common elements of alien invasions and cheese.
Yep. There are other things in common too.
Yes.
But essentially, each episode in this string of episodes across multiple different series, they're kind of iterative on each other. You know, they don't like affect each other all that much, but they are essentially kind of retelling very similar stories over and over again.
It does kind of come together eventually, but
No, it doesn't.
But yeah, for the first part, which we're going to do next week, we'll be covering She's a Go-Go from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, The Eds Are Coming from Ed, Edd n Eddy, and That Darn Platypus from, I believe, My Good Partner's a Monkey. And then we'll be comparing the remainder on the 30th of October to close out our month of Halloween programming.
And our 60th episode.
Ooh. It has a 6 in it, and it's
There might be some special guests.
Maybe. If we're lucky. But yeah, no, this should be exciting because we're going to be talking about like a whole gambit of like basically a snapshot of Cartoon Network in that era, in that like 2007-ish. This is like Cartoon Network, yes, basically.
Yes.
Thanks for being on the podcast, Chuggaaconroy.
Thank you, Chuggaa.
You're welcome, I think. Sorry.
All right, and yeah, so me and Monsters will see you next week. We shouldn't be having any more interruptions. Bye, guy rules. Out.
Catch you guys next time.